I have read the statement from the Finance Ministry. It's terrible. One thing that is clear from the statement is the fact that the current managers of the economy basically concede that the economy had gotten to the point where they do not have the capacity to service our debts. And in a rather possible arrogance, they blame Russia invasion of Ukraine, among other things, than to take personal responsibility for where they had brought this beautiful country to. And I've always maintained that with my little background in economics, under no circumstance, if we had managed the affairs of this country well, that we'll get to this point. Under no circumstance. And I make this point recognizing that in the 8 years of Mills, Mahama, and Misasa, right, the envelope of financial resources available in 8 years was 248 billion Ghana cedis. And by this I mean total revenue, grants, loans. If you put everything together, 248 billion in 8 years. And I recall Dr. Bamia, in most of his lectures, used to use this as a basis of criticizing the government there. It's unfortunate that today, with over 500 billion Ghana cedis in total, financial resources, we've gotten to a very regrettable point where the president, acting through the finance ministry, now concedes that I am not in position to pay my debts. And if you read the statement in detail, I personally never prayed that we'll get to this point. I have always been hopeful that we're going to weather the storm and project the country that we are, a proud nation, people with resilient character. Unfortunately, the mismanagement, the reckless expenditure, the unbridled borrowing has today brought this economy on its knees. And you see, my brother Miracle makes the point that he wants to be referred to as Abochi relative to the gains the city is making. And it's a very simple thing in economics. If for once, monthly, you are having to use $220 million to service your debts, now catch it. For the whole year, we had budgeted over 45 billion Ghana cedis for interest payment and amortization, right? So if you get to the point and you see your debts are in euros, dollars, and pounds, Japanese yuan, and the rest. So if there comes a point where you have decided that you are not going to pay or service that debt, what it means is that the money that you have to go and use to buy dollars, you reserve it. And usually the economics of it is that it is when you are going to service your debt, that is when the depreciation further becomes pronounced, because then you need dollars in order to pay the debt. So having taken a decision that you are no longer going to pay your debt by way of interest payment over $200 million, that will be significant savings for you. You understand? And so, ordinarily, you would have been in the forex market changing the cedis into these dollars in order to go and pay the debt. But because you have taken the decision that you are not going to, the pressure on the city goes down. And that is what you are seeing, the marginal gains that the city had made within the past 1 week. It is because of this decision. If not by now, would have been all over the place looking for hard currency in order to go and pay. So how is this sound economic management? And you see, during our champions time, we did Yentuya. You remember? Mm-hmm. This one, Yentuya means that, oh, you may have the money, but you're taking a foreign, like a sovereign decision that you won't pay. That's different. This is not Yentuya. This one is Yentimintuya. We don't have the money to pay. Yentimintuya, there are two different matters. The champion one was done with a lot of, we have, but won't pay. This one, we don't have. Look, my dear, the danger is that even to pay salaries is becoming an issue. But for the intervention of Bank of Ghana, look at the 2023 budget statement. The finance minister provided the outturn of this year, that's from January to September. January, September, total revenue, including grants, was 65 billion Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, we spent 105 billion. You understand? The total, when you put grants plus the revenue we have generated within the country, it was 65 billion Ghana cedis. Meanwhile, within this same period, we have spent 105 billion Ghana cedis. The bulk of the money, because the Eurobond market is locked for us, Bank of Ghana had to intervene. You understand? So for the first time, Bank of Ghana had given us overdraft in excess of 30 billion Ghana cedis.
Right.
It's never happened. So the point ought to be made clear that for the first time since 1992, or possibly 1957, when we gained our independence from colonial rule, Mr. Akufo-Addo, having led this team of incompetent, reckless administrators, had finally declared this country bankrupt. The challenge I see is that if you read the statement, the finance ministry are saying that Eurobond holders are going to have a problem. Remember that these are foreigners. See, when Zambia tried this experiment, the Chinese eventually wanted to take over the Zambian Broadcasting Corporation. The danger that I'm saying is that because these are decisions unilaterally so taken, and I've also seen that our bondholders have formed a committee and have appointed some of the topmost law firms globally to lead their processes in this whole, store. I am looking at a situation of massive lawsuits against government of Ghana. Our embassy properties globally are going to become the subject of possible attachments in order to pay off some of these debts. I never, for the whatever of me, believe that we'll get to a point where sound economic management will give way to nepotism, unbridled corruption, reckless expenditure, and in some cases, thievery.
Right.
To the point where the economy had gotten to where it is. I am very sad today.
You can come in.
I never prayed we'll get there. Look, our MPP NDC differences had never gotten me to think of our country getting to this point. It's unfortunate that's happened, and I believe that my brother, when he's about to will start by first apologizing for this dangerous tag that today this country is going to go through. I feel so sad this morning.